one of the most important consoles of all time, and guess who was, of course, upset at the NES? Yes, I know most people who are under the age of like 40, probably, or even 30, probably don't know all too much about the NES or don't think about the NES all too much. But without the NES, the modern gaming market wouldn't exist. It just wouldn't exist because before the NES, most games were arcade games and Atari games. As Atari was the main reason behind the crash. Okay, the current era of gaming is far more resilient than it was in the 80s. We're never going to experience a crash where people hate video games so much, where people stop buying them because you still have old games, you have indie games, obviously. You're always going to have good games coming out regardless of how bad, games are being made, no matter how bad the AAA gaming has become. And it is quite sad that now it's mostly probably Zoomers or PlayStation fanboys are now hating the NES. Turns 40 this year. No one cares anymore because they can just emulate everything. Well, really, that's the excuse that they're using to hate the NES. First of all, still those games were on the NES. Okay, the NES is still one of the most influential consoles of all time. Okay. The NES, I think, was the, console that kind of saved the gaming industry. Okay, without the NES, you wouldn't really... And yes, most people who play NES games either play it on the Switch Online or pirate the game. Because, again, NES is not being made anymore, of course. It's very hard to play games on this discontinued product because the NES was discontinued like 30 years ago already. Okay? And even then, the NES is there's still tons of collectors for the NES, still tons of fans. Probably, I think of all ages of the NES, people who are, older people, and of course, people who are interested in gaming history, obviously, as well here. And it's just pretty absurd that now we're basically just hating on the NES because of reasons. And the main reason for hating the NES is because of emulation, okay? Guess what? Almost all consoles can be emulated. Yes, even your precious PS5 can be emulated as well. Okay. I bet there was an emulator for the PS5. If there isn't, there wouldn't be supposed to be. Oh, there's no PS5 game emulators yet. But I think the last gen consoles you have emulators like PS4, Switch, and PS4. I think the PS4, Xbox One, the Switch have emulators, obviously, but even the PS4 can be emulated at this current moment. Okay, they're not very good emulators, but, because it can only play a few games, obviously, but it's still in the very early stages of emulation, okay, as well. And that is about the NES here. And yeah, the NES does actually turn 40 this year. Yeah, and again, the NES is still a very important console, okay? It's still, I still think, people should still talk about the NES, even though the NES is not the newest consoles, obviously, as well here. And yep, that's what this video here. Goodbye.